Contents of another VO podcast may cause drowsiness, itchy forehead, burning armpits, or headache. Some less known side effects include mashed toes, sore egos, irritable bowel, or just an old-fashioned case of red ass. Opinions given are not fact but opinion, and names have been changed to protect the three idiots who record this podcast.
Hey, welcome back to It's Another VO Podcast. We're here to talk about the voiceover industry, especially if you're getting started, but maybe everything you need to know about voiceover, and probably stuff you don't need to know too. Jake, Troy, how you guys doing?
Doing pretty good.
I'm recovering. Seems like every week I have something happen the day before we do a podcast. You know, I did that stupid sleep study last night. They ought to call it an awake study instead of a sleep study.
Yeah, because you were like up for a while, right? Or they made you get up super early, and then they said you can't go back to sleep or something, right?
Yeah, they got me up at 5 this morning, and they said can't go back to sleep because we can't come back and check on you, and da da da. And I said, well, that's fine. I took a shower, took my time getting out of there, but man, that was a long night.
Hey, but you got a Waffle House visit out of it.
I did, man.
Were you all hooked up like a science project?
Yeah, you had like 2 bands around your, one right at your chest, one on your abdomen, and wires everywhere. And man, they even put like 8 sensors on my head. I said, you're not going to find a freaking thing. There's nothing up there. I don't know what you're
going to how you could sleep with all that stuff hooked up on you.
You can't, but if you lay flat on your back and get halfway comfortable, you finally just get so frustrated you'll sleep some. And I think that's all they're looking for. If they can get a couple 3 hours of you in sleep mode where they can record your stuff, and are you moving around, or your legs moving, or when you get in REM mode, they can even tell if your eyeballs are moving in REM mode. That's crazy.
Just act natural.
I did pay them back this morning, because they have a camera in there and it's a night view camera. And I thought they bug me all night, So I said, when I take a shower, I'm going to make sure I make a streak across there and see what happens.
Speaking of things that you may not want to know.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I put the disclaimer at the beginning there.
Come on.
Oh, yeah. You predicted Troy going to talk about nakedly running across the camera, did you?
I was also singing Zippity Doo Dah because they've got sound, so I wanted to hear it.
Since you guys have made segues absolutely impossible now, let's just jump over. Jake, we got an email from somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
We did get an email, and we love getting emails. This one was from John Scovemond. Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, let's see what it's about.
John said, "Hey, guys, I've been listening to the podcast for a while. I don't see a way to leave a comment on Apple Podcasts, so here it is." And I'm not sure how to do that either, John. I'm so sorry. He goes, "I think your podcast is great. I enjoyed Troy's VO Life and the VO Ladder before that. You guys have interesting topics and good interpersonal banter. I was in the Nava Ask Me Anything Zoom call earlier today. Tim and Karin said that they currently have 800 members, which I guess is pretty good for only being 1 year old. There must be 150,000 plus voice actors in the U.S. and only 800 NAVA members? NAVA's work is very important to voice actors and our industry.
Yep.
Please help spread the word. I don't think you've done a podcast on NAVA, but I'd like to suggest that you do. Thanks. Keep on keeping on. John Scovemond."
Nice. I've known John a long time. We probably got in VO about the same time.
I believe I had dinner with him at One Voice. He's in Paul's group.
Did you? Oh, yeah? Cool.
Yeah, he's a super nice guy.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, I've certainly seen him in our groups.
I don't want to refer him somewhere else, but there is a VO Life podcast with Karin, and we don't go super in depth about just that because we were talking about the strike and some other things, but there is a lot of good information about it there where we were promoting. And you guys probably know I post in the VO Life group a lot about joining NAVA, and there were 4 or 5 people a few weeks ago that joined after we put the post up. But let's all talk about the importance of it. It is.
Well, and we talked about having an episode about NAVA, but that was like right after you had Karin on. Mm-hmm. So it was like, well, let's not follow that up too quickly. But I will say that, I mean, if you see what NAVA is posting right now, it is time for the 2023 voiceover survey. So you don't have to be a member of NAVA to fill out the survey. So John mentioned there are so many voiceover talent worldwide, from part-time to full-time. It doesn't matter where you are in voiceover. You can fill out the survey, and that information is valuable to NAVA as they do their work on behalf of voiceover talent.
Yeah, and please be honest. When
Yes.
you fill that thing out. Don't overinflate your income. Be honest because it needs to be real. It's very important that this
And isn't it
survey
anonymous?
is real.
Made
It is.
40,000
But you have no
this year.
reason
I'm
to
going to
like
round that up to
lie.
60.
I know.
Because at that
but
point, you're just
yeah,
lying to yourself.
I know. That's what I don't get. You know,
Well,
don't
hopefully we
do
don't.
that.
Maybe we're just speculating, but yeah, hopefully don't lie. And then where can people go? Like, what's this? Is there a site? Is it just nava.com, nava.com?
You
I
can-
couldn't
can
find
Google
the
it.
link. Yeah, I couldn't find the link on their site for the survey itself, but yeah, navavoices.org is actually
Okay,
the website.
navavoices.org. Everybody go
And
there. I'm going to do that today.
On
as
their
well. I've not done
Instagram,
that
they had
yet.
a post, click here to take the survey, and
Mhm.
that click takes you to navavoices.org / and a bunch of letters. So
Okay.
so it's but I know you can get to it through their Instagram post.
Yeah, do the survey. Be honest. If you're not a member, really think about joining. And I've told people too, I promise they probably wouldn't turn down a smaller donation, not for a membership, but just a donation. I mean, if you're going to use the AI writer or, you're on there looking on the site for stuff and keeping up with stuff and seeing what all they're doing, it's not going to hurt to send them $25 or something.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe you're not in a position to join yet.
Right.
But they need help because there's a lot of expense in what they're doing.
Especially this year as they're trying to deal with things related to the strike and what the strike pertains to with AI voices and things that we need to have our rights protected as voiceover talent because without the work that Nava's doing, we may not have that kind of protection.
Right.
Right.
Well,
thanks, John, for writing in. That was really cool of you. And guys, if you're listening now and you have questions like John's, or if you have suggestions like John's, please email us. Like, it honestly, anytime we get an email, we love getting that email. Like, we're like, yes, another email.
And congrats to John. He just got his automotive demo with Cliff.
Oh, sweet. Good job,
Hey,
John.
all right. Good stuff will come out of that.
Put that thing to use.
Yeah. Hey, one real quick question about this Nava deal, Troy, about being a member. Do you have to be making money at voiceover, right? If you're just doing voiceover as a hobby, Nava's not really for you, and probably wouldn't even accept your application.
You have to answer some questions when you apply. Mm-hmm. You have to have some proof that you're working a website or something, so, but if you're new and you have everything set up, and you want to join, you might get in based on that if you have a website and some stuff. But I can't remember exactly. I think there was something on there about proven work, but I'm not positive.
Okay. All right. But it's worth checking out. And I don't think the fee is that high, if I remember right.
Wasn't it like $125?
Yeah, $125.
Which honestly, not much. Now, granted, not everyone's situation is different, but yeah, that's not horrible compared to these other memberships.
No.
Well, considering what they're doing for this group of people, that's not a lot to invest, because we don't really have a lot of other things that we have to pay a quote unquote membership for. And I think to me, I like having that badge on my website. It's being a Nava member. And then being able to, even put that on some of the other sites, when people start jerking you around. So, no, I'm a Nava member. I don't work for that. Sorry.
Yeah. Yep.
Kind of gives you something to lean on.
Yeah. Feels like you have a little muscle behind your, effort.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yep.
Well, here's our topic for today, guys. I mentioned this briefly, but I don't know if you knew where I was going with it. When it comes to voiceover, when it comes to any business, owning and running any business, perhaps it's a lady making craft objects and selling them at craft shows. It can be a business. It can be a hobby. It can be a side hustle. Which one is it? Depends on how you run it and what you want to get out of it, right? Mm-hmm. So when it comes to voiceover, I would like our listeners to consider whether they have voiceover as a hobby, as a side hustle, or as a career. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because when I started out, it was a little bit hobby, then kind of a side hustle. I wanted to see if this was something that I could do legitimately. I'd had people love my voice and say, man, you should be doing this. And I thought, well, I'd love to try, but I didn't want to leave my job. Obviously, nobody should leave their job unless they have replacement income for that. So I started trying it, and I used it as a side hustle. it didn't pay for anything of our needs. I just put the money I was making back into the business at that time to make sure that if I wanted and when I wanted to make this a full-time career, I had a bigger pile of income of money to put into that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, 100%.
So if you're running your business, what would it look like if it's a hobby versus a side hustle versus a full-time career, let's say growing career? What do you think?
I mean, if it's a hobby, I really think you're not really putting in the efforts to like grow your clientele.
Yeah.
I mean, you might spend some of that money to like upgrade your equipment just to provide a better quality product, but ultimately you're not doing anything outside of just, maybe auditioning for the occasional occasional, not occasional, occasional, thing that comes through or whatever. You're not taking it you're not taking it too seriously.
You're probably not on any pay to plays, I would think, if you're
Probably
you shouldn't
not
be.
as a hobby.
Not as a
as
hobby.
a hobby. I don't know. 'Cause I kind of came into it not necessarily as a career, but definitely as a side hustle for sure, wanting it to be a career. But again, I had a full-time job, and I got into voiceover like a month before my work went full-time work from home because of the pandemic. So with those first couple of weeks, I was really only able to audition. I was working from home like once a week, and I was really able to only audition on that day as far as in a timely manner. You know what I mean? Because we've talked about being on a pay to play as I'm only on voices. So I don't know. I guess it was kind of a side hustle, but then when we started working from home, it was kind of like a coinciding thing. You know what I mean? Especially because I worked in private travel and people weren't traveling because of the pandemic. So really all I was doing was waiting for auditions to come in. You know what I mean? Because there were days at my normal job at that point when just nothing was going on. Hardly anyone was flying. So they did let us keep our jobs, but my main job at that time was just doing voiceovers, you know what I mean? But again, only on VDC. So side hustle for sure for me, but hobby, I feel like that's just like you do it if and when you can. And if you miss a couple of weeks, whatever,
Yeah. And if somebody wants it to be as a hobby, there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, not at all.
No.
But I want us to understand the differences that maybe you think you're building a career, but the way you're practicing your business is actually as if it were a hobby. So if you're running a voiceover as a hobby, you're probably not making much money at it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that to me that comes down to hobby. It's like I always like to put an equal sign. Hobby equals fun. I'm doing it for fun.
Yeah,
I'm doing it because it's fun. I like doing it, and I'm on Upwork and Fiverr and whatever, and I'm just doing whatever I get, cutting up, having fun. I'm not really worried about it. But when you get into the side hustle thing, it really changes a lot because I know it took me about 6 months before it dawned on me that I didn't think of anything but a side hustle the first 6 months. But then at that month 6, and or 6 or 8 or somewhere in there, I had a really good month. I had gotten on voices and booked a few things, and I thought, this could get serious and a lot of the ifs were, there's no way you can do this part-time and it be much more than a side hustle. You can still be a business and run it and go get direct clients, but like Jake said, being on pay to plays and doing all that stuff it was almost impossible part-time to do that.
Yeah, you have to be ready to go when those auditions come for pay to plays.
And I've had people ask me a lot of times, well, how much money do I need to have saved for that? Well, that's up to you. There's no golden rule. Well, how long do I need to be doing this before I could go full time? That's also up to it's different for everybody. I mean, I had a plan that when I turned 62, I would retire from where I was working and I would do this, as a business full time. And, all this stuff going through COVID and this, that, and the other, and this happened and things changed. And I got so frustrated with all these supply chain issues and all this crap. And, people were leaving the company left and right. And some people were allowed to work from home and some weren't. And I'm in the plant every day. And, the manufacturing manager's gone, this manager's gone. Well, you can cover. Well, and before long, I'm just coming home and my wife's like, I said, I can't do this much longer. And she said, just quit. Just go ahead and quit.
That's what my girlfriend said.
if I hadn't had that support, I don't know if I would have lost my mind, had a heart attack. I don't know what would have happened.
Right.
Yeah, dude. Similar.
But it was
Yep.
wonderful to step into this and be able to throw the time at it. And did moving from part-time to full-time, did it impact me a lot the first year? Not really. It did some, but stupid me didn't start marketing until October. So I went 10 months that
Dude,
I
right
could
there,
have, I just 10 months not wasted. I made pretty good money, but I was killing myself with a bunch of YouTube clients because it was paying the bills.
Right.
And then I didn't have time to market. And then when I finally just said, you got to get brave and just, you got to cut bait. You got to let this stuff go. And as I started to do that, the better work would come. I could get to the better work. I could market harder, and it all panned out. But oh my gosh, man, that was scary.
And I think a lot of voiceover are doing it as a hobby on YouTube. Because that's a big medium. And
It is for sure.
it doesn't pay
Yeah.
enough for you to build a career off of, let's be honest. So,
Right.
it's the people who, it's fun to kind of do that. And hey, my voice is on the internet. Hey, I'm narrating this thing on the internet. And that's the reward of hobby, is you send to a buddy, hey, listen to what I did on the internet. Here's a YouTube that I narrated.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the satisfaction they get. Where if you want it to be a career, then you've got to move beyond that, which it's still kind of cool, to hear your voice on something. But you've got to move into it to where you are serving clients and giving them the very best, so that in return you're getting the income that you need to provide for your family, to support your family and things like that. So,
Mhm.
Yep. You become a problem solver instead of
Yep.
a hobbyist.
yep,
And-
exactly.
And man, customer service is so important in this industry. I mean, had a conversation yesterday with a guy, and he was like, if you'll do this and you'll do this and you'll get it to them this fast. I mean, like, they send you so many pages of copy, and we were talking about radio imaging, and he said, you turn it around in 15 minutes, 30 minutes. He said, they will never let go of you, because you're so fast in getting it to them, and that way they can get it produced and get done. And he's
Yep.
right, because I'm already dealing with that with one client. I mean, they're like, when you send it back, they're like, man, that was fast. It doesn't, if you get trained at what you do, you can edit quick, you can do what you need to do, you can do stuff fast.
Yeah.
But-
Oh yeah. Yep. Now, what about pricing and coaching and things like that? I think if you're in a hobby, seeing it as a hobby, you may not, you've got to put money out of your coffers into that. You're not making enough money in the business to plow it back into coaching and stuff like that. What do you guys think? Somebody who's a hobbyist, what's their coaching level? What can they afford? What are they
Shoot, I don't
doing?
know if you're a hobbyist and you don't care about going forward, you're probably not getting coaching. You're probably just rolling with what's worked for you,
Yeah.
and
Getting
you're
what you
not.
can off free web.
Yeah,
videos
and you're
and-
not, and you're probably not auditioning for a lot of things that necessarily need a lot of coaching. You're probably just doing these, maybe monotonous kind of narration things or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
you probably don't even consider coaching. I mean, like you're not thinking about and you're probably not, doing jobs at, for fair rates. Not saying that you're doing like it's unfair, but you're not really concerned about the rate if it's a hobby. You know what I mean? It's a hobby.
Right.
You enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
Let's go back to what one of you guys brought this up a few weeks ago, that, and maybe you said it was JMC that had said there were a lot of people that invest way more than they'll ever get back. I think there are a lot of people that try to go about that, and somehow they have, whether it's a spouse or whatever, where they can do it, and they may go a year and do nothing but they'll go to workshops, they'll go get coaching, they'll go on these overseas retreats, and and spend all this money to get in, and they wait until they feel like they're ready, and then they get demos and go to work. If you can afford to do that, bless your heart.
Oh, man.
I couldn't. I had to do it the hard way, but that would be semi awesome to have all of that training under your belt and then get in. That'd be
Yeah.
great. And to have the demos, that'd be
Yeah.
great if you can do that. But I don't see a hobbyist doing that. These people, most of them, have a vision of being a full-time voice actor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know who all is out there. I just don't see a lot of people necessarily doing voiceover as a hobby. Side hustle for sure, but a lot of them are wanting to do it full time. And I think a lot of the side hustle people are only making it their side hustle because they're not ready to go full time yet.
Yeah.
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think there are a number that they love their full-time job and this is a fun side hustle for them. And maybe the money that they're making goes to, pay for golf equipment and, whatever your other things you enjoy. So, it's that extra income on top of your needs, bonus
horse
things.
feed.
Horse feed,
A hobby that supports your other hobbies.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of somebody going full-time, almost full-time, I want to congratulate, and I just found out yesterday, Brad Grahowski. I've known Brad ever since I got into this. He talked to his employer. He was ready to go full-time. They asked him to work from home some, which he agreed to do, and it probably helped him hang on to benefits or whatever longer.
Hey, that's awesome.
But yeah, he's making that transition in October, and I'm really proud for Brad. He is does some of the best children's books narrations I've ever heard.
Oh, wow.
He's just fantastic with all that, and he's got a really cool podcast, the Spaceman. I can't remember Spaceman something. I'm blank, but great guy. He was actually on a VO Life interview a long time ago. And, but I'm really proud for him because it meant a lot to him to get to this point. And he's worked hard at it. He's put in, the hours at night. My gosh, it's up till 1 a.m, working on audiobooks and then getting up the next morning and catching the train into Washington and he works in DC, I think.
Wow.
So, yeah, I think he's an IT guy, but he'll be able to do some stuff from home and ease into his voiceover career, and that's great.
Honestly, that's the dream.
That's cool.
The dream. Work from home.
That is very cool.
On top of that.
So, hey, that's a decent transition because I think when we're looking at going from hobby to side hustle to full-time, which is the dream of so many, to going full-time voiceover and using that to provide for all the needs of your family, what are the steps? How do you move out of this as a hobby and I have a, mattress fort or moving blanket fort and moving into, I've upgraded my booth, my sound is pristine, into I've learned my DAW, into those upper levels that get you more coaches. What are the steps?
I mean, figure out what the cost is going to be really and start making goals. I mean, I want to be able to invest in I want to, invest in a coach. I want to invest in better equipment. Figure out what's more important first. Whether that's, maybe some equipment upgrades, maybe some coaching to get done. Look at the cost of that and see what that's going to run you and just, make a goal, write it out, whatever that looks like for you. Make those goals and then take the steps to accomplish those goals. And then as you progress and you get that equipment, get that coaching, start on, keep at it. And just, I think one day you'll come to a point where you're like, oh, it's time to go to the next level or whatever,
Right. I think a lot of people don't realize if they're going to do this seriously what the investment is. I think it was Mark Scott that mentioned, say, over a 3-year period, you should probably assume about $15,000. And a lot of people are, oh my gosh, that sounds high. And, sure, people do it for less. But if you are starting from scratch, you have to, get a treated space and you're buying equipment and you're going to workshops and coaching and you're getting your website done. You're trying to get some branding done. And that's talking about you're paying for a lot of that. If you're creative and you can do your own website and you can mimic another good voiceover website, just be sure you get the right things on there. Sure, you can do that kind of stuff and design your own stuff. But a lot of people have zero aptitude with that. So you're looking at, like you said, probably $5,000 a year. Because if you're going out and getting pro demos, you're going to be dropping somewhere between $1,500, $2,500 per demo.
Yep.
Depending on who you're using and et cetera, et cetera. So it's a big investment, huge investment, but it's the right way.
Yeah, it is.
Don't do it the wrong way.
And for those who are new to voiceover, when we're talking about coaches, there are actually a couple different kinds of coaches in voiceover that you need to have in your life. There are performance coaches. You need that coaching so that your performance is on spot for each style of read that you're needing to do. There are also career coaches that will help you get started and go to the right places to build your business, to put together a voiceover website, to design, how you do your marketing and that kind of things. And as we know, like Mark Scott, Paul Schmidt, there are coaches that do specific for marketing. And you have to, if you're going to grow a full-time career, you've got to get good at marketing and be consistent at marketing.
Yep. And then there's people like us. We just answer all your dumb questions for free.
Yeah. Which the value in it may be also the same, free.
Yeah, but we'll send you to somebody else that knows.
Exactly.
I mean, we can refer you to people, and then that can help you out better than we could. But
Yeah. We're like in golf, the first person to tee off on a windy day called the wind dummy. We'll be your wind dummies. We'll take all the coaching and find out what works for us, and then send you to the right person, so you don't have to waste your money going to the wrong coach.
Yeah. Well, and like we say all the time, there's no right or wrong in a lot of this.
Now, you got to find what works for you.
You do, because there are some people that go to these that I would not recommend, and they come out of it okay. But I thought, you probably could have got there quicker and spent less money had you done this. But that's okay. To each his own. People have the right to start a business and run a business the way they want to run it. And if people want to spend money with them, that's between them and them, not me and them. And but we're always open to recommend any people we've used. Will tell you about that experience and what they did for us, for sure.
Yeah. And everybody's path to getting into full-time voiceover career is going to look different.
Oh gosh,
You're coming from different careers into voiceover, or maybe coming in there as a young person that has an acting background like you, Jake. I mean, you had some other jobs, but it sounds like to you weren't seeing those as your career. You really wanted to do acting, and then voice acting fell in your lap as well. That's part of your story. That is not my story. That's not Troy's story. So everybody has a different story in how they're getting into the full-time, growing, thriving voiceover career. And for some people, it happens very quickly. For others, like me, it takes time.
It does take time, and it does. It takes time and dedication. So, I mean, like, just unless you are fortunate enough to have that kind of work from home job or that hybrid job that allows you to be home and make money while you can focus on voiceover too. I mean, like, it's brutal. It can be brutal.
Yep.
You cannot jump into voiceover full time. I mean, you can, but it's not advisable. I mean, like, I still think I jumped in too early, but where I was at with my then work life or whatever, it just wasn't good, and kind of similar to how Troy's wife told him to quit. My girlfriend said, quit, and I did. So
Well, let's talk about a boring thing, something very boring.
Rubik's
if you're
Cube.
growing a business,
okay.
including a voiceover career, you have to have a budget. You have to know how much you need to make each month in that business to pay yourself what you need to get, to live off of, but also to pay for overhead expenses, which are going to be more at the beginning because you're having to get professional demos made. You're maybe having to buy some equipment that you don't have yet, or your monthly fees that you have for if you're going to have some music background, if you're doing some full production stuff, you've got to have access to music that is royalty paid already.
Royalty.
Like I use
Storyblocks
for that kind of thing.
Or like Source Connect or something,
Source Connect. Yep. Which if you're getting into voiceover, I wouldn't pay for something like that until you need it.
Right.
Yeah. If you want the free version, the Source Connect now, get that. Then you're set up, and then you can convert over to standard, and it'll work. You don't have to change anything.
Yep.
But today I had the first studio ever say, "Oh, you can just use Source Connect now. It's fine. It's just as good as the other one." And I'm like,
usually
really?
they want standard.
I know.
Yeah, they want the paid
I was
version.
so surprised. And they said, "Well, we'll just send you a link, and you can jump on there with your sign on or whatever." And I said, "Well, that's fine, but I've got the other." And since I'm paying for it, I wish you'd use it. That's okay.
Again, a lot of these things are tax write-offs. So as much as it sucks spending that money, at least you can kind of write it off.
Yeah. Keep up with it. My gosh, if you're going to, budget.
I make a list of that. I make a list of everything that I spend money on voiceover for, and I just add it to the same list. It's the same list every year, and I even keep it from last year so I can reference it on the same list.
Yeah.
And I just, retitle it and go back. So I'm keeping track of everything.
Excel is your friend. If you've used Microsoft Excel, it is, it's simple, but it's real easy to put stuff in there. And then if it's the same every month, you just drag 12 of them down there and you're done.
Exactly. I just in FreshBooks, I make a copy and change the date. That's about it for stuff like VoiceZam, for my story blocks, as I mentioned, and my FreshBooks, my accounting software, the things that I'm on that I have to pay monthly fees for. That's all on that.
Yep, it can be done. It's not terrible. I mean, it is a business. You're going to be the accountant, the sales exec. You're going to be the talent. You're going to be doing the the calls, the marketing. You're doing everything. I did talk to a lady this week who was looking for a couple of hours a week to do something, and I might be able to work something out with her, but I'd have to teach her, how to go on Google and dig for stuff.
Oh, do some lead generation for you.
Do some lead generation.
And then maybe do maybe your introduction.
And maybe send the introduction emails. And I'd give her the templates, and she could, I'd just do 10, maybe spend an hour twice a week, 2 hours, and send out, she could probably get 10, 15 emails an hour out by finding the contact, getting the email out, and, maybe. And so we're discussing it. We haven't come to an agreement yet, but I would like to do something like that. And I mean, there again, another tax write-off. But I had a guy yesterday told me and that he had his belief was, and it had been very successful for him, was he gave 10% to his church. He set aside another 10% for advertising. And then he set another 10% for savings. And he said, it's all, and of course you're going to take taxes out, but he said that he called it the 310s, and he said the 310s kept me afloat forever because he said I made myself spend that 10% on advertising.
Oh yeah.
Every month, he said, and advertising could be a lot of different things.
Sure.
He would go to broadcasters associations in different states and put little ads in their stuff, even digital ads, where it's saying, hey, I'm the imaging guy, da, 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 da. And he said, I always got business that way, so. But, it was a pretty neat rule. I don't know that I could stick to that right now, but I like the idea of looking at 10% for advancement, where that would be coaching or, investing in, I need my logo updated or this. Another thing I always try to look at too is always have a emergency fund for a PC, because computers love to crap out and you just never know when. If you can afford a backup, try to have a backup, a good viable backup in case it does crap out. At least you can plug up to something else, move your hard drives over, and you can survive until you can get the other one fixed. To me, that's the scariest thing, because 95% of what we do is on our PC, almost 100%.
Yes, absolutely.
Really. So that's a scary thing for me.
Yeah, you need to have a cash reserve for things like that. Because imagine in your mind, if X happens, business stops. And you want to rule out if X happens, business stops. So a computer is a big one. Have cash reserve to replace that computer in a moment's notice. You don't want to have to borrow out of your home income, right? You need the business needs to pay for itself and then pay you on top of that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Troy.
Very true. Very true. And it's little things like that. It's the computer, the interface. Interface can go out. You can't get one usually where you live. A lot of people can't. I can't. I could probably drive to Nashville and find one, but it probably wouldn't be the one I want.
Right.
And when I got very comfortable with this Audient ID4, Daniel Britt put his up for sale. It was barely used, and I bought it. And I said, it was, $30 or $40 under a new one, and it's still in the box, still in the cabinet. And this one is not quite 2 years old. So what I may do when this one hits 2, it may move to the backup, and I'll put the new one out here and use it. But you got to have those backups for everything. I was thinking the other day, I've got another computer tower up there that I had before this one, and it worked okay. It was just a little slow, and it's got everything on it ready to go. I just got to pull it down, unplug one, plug up the other. It's ready to go.
Yeah.
I can short term can use my phone. I can answer emails on my phone and, let people know what's going on. Hey, I had a computer go down. I'm going to be an hour late, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So,
yeah. Yeah, that can be a nightmare when that kind of thing happens. But for the most part, clients are pretty understandable. They do a lot of their stuff on relying on computer too. So they know when something goes down, what a panic it can be. And,
Oh yeah.
They're usually going to
Yep.
be pretty graceful and, in that kind of situation.
yeah. And if you're in this doing what we're talking about for just supplementing your income and maybe, I don't know, maybe one day I'll go full time. Maybe when I retire, I'll go full time.
Yeah.
That is the time to invest every penny you're making right back into it, unless you have to have it. Now, I know there are people that'll go into something like this and think, man, I got to pay off my car. I got to pay this. And that's okay too.
Right.
But don't do that at the expense of, not investing in that business if you have any intention of being way more serious about it. If you're a hobbyist, whatever, that's okay. Do your thing. But if, I don't knock anybody for any of it, but if you're working a side hustle, go ahead and treat it like a full-time business.
Right. Yeah, sure. Yep.
And just, put the effort into it, put the time into it, get educated, get coached, get smart, and good luck, because it's a jungle out there.
It is a jungle out there.
It is.
Welcome to the jungle.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, I'll tell you guys about this is the dumbest thing, and I should have took a picture of it. The Marriott where I was at last night, the wallpaper behind the beds was the ends of record albums. And I walked down through there reading all of them. I mean, it was actual record albums. That was the coolest thing. It was like, Eric Clapton and whatever the name of the album. And it was the actual pictures, of somebody's record thing. And it went from everything from Blue Oyster Cult to Lynn Anderson to Tex Ritter. It had every kind of thing in there you think. It was kind of neat to read. But anyway, I don't know where that came from. But
And maybe that's how they got you to fall asleep.
yeah, that worked.
Yeah, instead of counting sheep, read these
That's
records.
your ASMR is just watching, looking at the record jacket.
The challenge that I'm going to have with this, and I learned last night, is for some reason when that thing's on me, I want to try to regulate my breathing. I don't breathe naturally. And then the next thing I know is that pressure comes up on that thing. I can't do that anymore. And then I'm gasping and I'm pulling it off. And so if any of you guys out there have gone through this and have found a successful way to quickly get where you could do it all the time, because I know as soon as that unit comes here, and the guy told me it may take you 3 months, you may wear it 2 hours and rip it off. Then you may get to 4 hours and pull it off. Then eventually you'll get to where you can tolerate it all night and you're going to feel so much better. But they scared me to death talking about how many people die from sleep apnea, where it affects their heart and they have a heart attack and, this, and this. And he said, just think about it. If you're only getting 2 to 3 hours sleep a night, how long can you last? 2 to 3 hours of good sleep. And it makes sense. It does. But that's scary. And if you're only getting 2 to 3 hours of voiceover training a year, how are you going to make it?
Right.
Ooh, I'll let you know.
That's tough. Guinea pig.
Oh,
Hey, Troy, what do we have coming up on our next episode?
I have no clue whatsoever.
Yes, you do. We're to record it next week.
Yeah, I know. We're talking to Mary Lynn Wissner, and what a gem. I mean, having her right after Lala Pettis, you're getting two greats back to back. So
yep.
And then coming up later this year will be my dialect coach, Tom Antonellis, is going to join us probably in November. And Tom is not only a great dialect coach, he is a working voice actor and very good at it. He's done a lot of animation stuff. He's been in was it Chippendale or whatever those are? One of the
chipmunks. Yeah.
Yeah, chipmunk things. He's just been on a lot of stuff, and he's not only a dialect coach, but a performance coach as well. And that's been a big help to me where Tom will work on my dialect stuff, but then he'll say, and by the way, when you read that, you missed this little thing here. And I love that about him. He's a lot of fun to talk to. He's a wealth of knowledge, and my gosh, he can pull just about any dialect or accent you want done, and he can get into it and stay into it. It's pretty amazing. So maybe we'll have, Scottish Saturday or something, and we'll let him
give us a little bit of a dialect example, maybe.
Well, what would be great is
show off is
one of you guys, which I'm not really good at any of that stuff, but if one of you guys could do one, and then we let him, he could give you something to read, and then he could tell you why, it sounds good, but, and why, because I think people think, well, I can talk like this and it sounds like this. And he'll tell you, nope, you're not doing your T's right. You're not dragging your L's. You're not doing this. And he studies this stuff so much, he's great at it, but, I can't do anything.
Maybe I'll bust out my Rhode Island accent.
There you go. There you go. Yeah,
Nice.
he refers back to the Boston one a lot because I think that's the area he's from. But he did that a lot. Pocky Ka and all that stuff.
Cool.
Good stuff coming up, though.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting to be doing this. And, if you want to support our podcast, we have a merch page.
Yeah,
right?
we do. I forgot about that.
Tell us about that, Troy, because you know where
Yeah, if I could think of the name of it, but I'll tell you what I am doing. I do put it in the show notes now. So if you'd like a T-shirt, you can get a T-shirt, a hoodie, or a coffee mug. And it all ships direct from the people that make it. They ship it within just a few days. And it's not expensive. We don't mark them up. You get the opportunity to put profit on it. And I said, well, just put like $1 on each one. I don't want to make any money off of it. I just like seeing the
Wait, you know what?
logos.
We should post the link in our Instagram too. If you're not following us on Instagram, Another VO podcast.
Yep. And we have
Instagram,
a YouTube
we'll
page
put the link
too.
there too.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, it's not, you haven't added much. When you're supporting the podcast, it's not financial. It's more about,
it ain't financial.
Hey,
but when you
show off
come
your mug on your page.
And when you come to, put your mug on a Facebook page, or when you come to VO Atlanta, wear your T-shirt. You know, that'd be kind of cool.
That's
Everybody
fun.
wears a T-shirt one. Yeah, it's kind of fun. Yep. Good stuff.
All right.
Speaking of which, I need to buy my ticket this week. I haven't done it.
Okay. Yeah. To VO Atlanta.
Yes, sir.
Atlanta.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a good episode, and we're here for hobbyists, side hustles, and full-time voiceovers with information and some good episodes coming up with some great coaches that you're going to hear from in our peer and coaching interviews. So we've been so glad to talk about this subject. And for Troy and Jake, I'm Alden, and this has been another VO podcast.
Hasta luego.
Adios, amigos.
Later.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of It's Another VO Podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. You can also email us your questions to anothervopodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at Another VO Podcast. See you next time.